are. Thanks so much. And so welcome everyone. I'm glad that you found your way over here. I saw many of you or many of your names on the workshop that we were just in. This is the Q&A portion for an integrated and institutional approach to engaging families across MCH population domains. I'm Michelle Crawford from AMCHP, and I am going to share the one question that I was able to see in the workshop that we were in. But if you didn't get a chance, or if you were just holding on to your question, please feel free to go ahead and pop it in the chat, and we will get to those questions. And you can certainly, raise your hand as well if you have a question and you want to unmute and ask it or just engage in some conversation. So with that, I am going to ask our presenters to go ahead and introduce themselves, and then we'll get to the questions.
Okay, Cassandra, you want to go first?
It doesn't matter to me. I'm Cassandra Sines. I'm one of the parent leaders and the family delegate for Kansas. I've been on the Family Advisory Council for about 8 years. I have enjoyed my time there, learned a lot, have found my advocacy voice. I have participated in AMCHP's Leadership Lab. I've become a member of the board, and I've also participated in a lot of work groups and councils. I've been appointed to our county's IDD advisory board by our county commissioners, and just I enjoy helping people, and advocacy is my passion. I love it. I know that's what I'm supposed to do, and I do it for my boy, because of my boys, for the rest of the state, for all those children that don't have what I've been able to give my boys. So it's just what I'm meant to do.
Well, I, for one, am very glad that you have found your way into Title V to be able to help you with some of that. My name is Heather Smith. I am the Maternal Child Health Director for the state of Kansas. I am new into this role as the MCH Director, but I was formerly the Special Healthcare Needs Director since 2013, and prior to that working within the Special Healthcare Needs Program. So I've been with Title V Maternal Child Health since 2009 in various roles. And for those that saw the video, Family Advisory Council and the family engagement work that we've done is by far the most favorite part of my job, the thing that keeps me motivated to keep doing what we do in Kansas to continue to serve families. And so I kind of get on tangents or will soapbox sometimes about how important the families are to the work that we do. And sometimes maybe our team is kind of like, all right, we've heard it. But I keep screaming it from the rooftops because I do know how critical it has been for the Special Healthcare Needs Program over the years to be able to advance the work they've done and completely revamp their program and the services that they provide. And I'm just really excited to see some of this work translating over to our other MCH populations so we can see some of that same progress or momentum and movement across our other work. So anyway, those are some things about me. I see there's questions already coming in. Do we want to jump to those or?
Yeah, the one question that I had seen in the workshop, you already addressed. It was from our friend Anna asking about the slides. So those are there in the chat. And then for anybody that is on phone only and not in front of your computer or able to see the chat, Heather also said that she's going to get those uploaded to the conference app, get those to our conference manager folks so that we can make sure that you all have access to them. So I'm going to read the first sort of two questions from Bessie, again, just to make sure that folks who are on phone only are able to know what we're addressing. So her first question is, how do you review the payment of the families? And then the second is, what motivates the families to stay for so many years on the council?
So as far as the review of the payment, if you're talking about like the stipends that we do, we have had that stipend or that reimbursement policy since I started. I mean, that was something that was really critical when we first did this. It's evolved over the years and it's kind of expanded. Every year we work with our executive committee for the Family Advisory Council and ask them if they feel like we need to take a review of it, what changes we need to make. We increase it. I think it's gone, I think when I first started in 2009, it was like $30 a meeting or something like that. And now we're at $100 a meeting for full day meetings. But then we also provide childcare reimbursement or a stipend for childcare for those that need that. Lodging and mileage if there's travel that needs to be done. If we ask them, so I mentioned in the video too, we do our weekend retreat once a year, or we used to. We also would give them any per diem for food that, like, we didn't provide the meals, they still got per diem for those things. And we would pay for the lodging and all of that stuff at that time too. So we've tried really hard to make sure that finances aren't a barrier for families to engage. I personally would love to see us do more and continue that, but I think we are a state agency, so just full caveat and nothing against that, but we have some limitations on how we can provide the stipends. So I'd love anybody's creative ideas of other ways that we could do that. But we've talked over the years about trying to implement like gift cards instead of the reimbursement model, doing something where they can get them at the meeting when they leave. But our agency, we've got some red tape there that we're trying to navigate through. But anyway, I went a little more in detail there, but ultimately the review every year is we talk to the families and ask them if this needs to be reviewed. And then if they do say yes, we ask them to make some recommendations or tell us what they feel is reasonable and fair. And then we usually come to a shared agreement on what that looks like. Cassandra, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I don't think I would add anything to that. They've been very fair because usually at an all-day meeting, they also provide lunch and snacks and I mean anything that we would need for that day. So they take care of us very well. And on the, why we stay for so long, we've become a family. And kind of like we talked about in the video, it's our support group almost, especially when we were just the special healthcare needs focus, we know what each other goes through. So it's our time to get together to work for a common purpose, but also to get together to support one another. And I think that's why that focus was so important for us, and also why so many stayed for so long, because that focus was there and that camaraderie, I'm not gonna be able to say it, that friendship was there to be able to be so close and be that family unit for one another. And to know, you didn't have to say, I mean, you could look at somebody and know that they were struggling with something, and somebody would just come up and give you a hug. And that's all it took. And by the end of the day, we would all be laughing about something, no matter what somebody else was going through, just because we all got it. We all know that there's hard days. We all know that there's struggles. And not a lot of people around us in our circles know that and know what it takes to raise a child with special healthcare needs or multiple children. I mean, there were some of us that have 2, 3 kids with multiple needs, and that's hard. And so if you have other people that understand that, you stick with those people and then you just have that passion to make a difference for others. So that's why that we're there for so long.
I'm glad you took that one. I can certainly speculate why I think or what families have told us over the years. And the only thing I would add that, and I think Cassandra covered this pretty well in terms of some of the value added that they get for their own lives. I think a thing I have been told by families about why they stay on as long as they do and why they keep coming back year after year is because they know that their voices are making a difference. And that's something I really pride ourselves on, or like our work on, is that if they say it, we go figure out how to implement it. And they can see that. So I think, if people are trying to figure out like, oh, why do I have a lot of turnover or whatnot? If families aren't being able to see the impact that their voice and their work is having, I think it makes it harder to stay. So that's just, again, me kind of speculating, but families have said that to us. And then I think another thing that is such a big part of the vision of what Kansas has put together is that it's always about families first. So it's about, and I think we say it in the video and all of that, but we outline this robust list of membership benefits because it's not just about us and what we're going to get out of it. I always tell families, like, it's really more about, like, if you're not getting something meaningful out of it, I want to know because I want to do something different. Yes, I'm a state agency. We have to get something out of it to be able to keep paying for it and to keep convening and all that stuff. And I'll figure out how to make that happen. But if the families aren't getting something out of it, it's not a meaningful partnership because partnership is two-way. And as long as they're feeling that, I feel like that's a lot of reason why they stick around too. Those are my perspectives on it. But I think that peer support is also the number one that people have told us over the years. So it'll be nice when the new members can experience that outside of a virtual setting, because that is by far been the hardest thing to keep going and keep that peer-to-peer connection among the council members going with the expansion. And I don't think it has anything to do with how big we are. I think it has everything to do with that we haven't got back in person together yet.
And I would agree with that.
Well, thank you both. And Anna had added into the chat that from her perspective, also because your program continues to support them to participate, and sustainability is huge, which it certainly is. So added thought there. The other question that I see from Anna is she had asked to know a little bit more about how you recruit family leaders for the advisory council and then also for the work groups.
So recruitment is pretty much, it's an online SurveyMonkey application. So it's application, it's primarily word of mouth. I mean, we do some like Facebook posts and social media like pushes every once in a while to try to kind of get the word out there and let people know that the council exists. But it's primarily word of mouth from our partners where we share information and we ask them to share with families. And then there's an online application process. So an application comes in, our Family and Consumer Partnership Coordinator will take a look at it, make sure that they are a family leader. We've had some that have been clearly professionals that are just wanting to engage with families. And we still have a conversation with them and thank them for their interest and invite them as a partner, but they are not allowed to be on the council. Of course, growing from a specific special healthcare needs population to all MCH populations, we have a lot of members that are they wear dual hats. They are there with their family hat on, but they certainly work in early childhood or a related field. And so we don't discourage that or ask them not to be there, but if they are there solely for their professional hat and they speak to only their professional hat, we then will ask them to take a step back. But so it's an open application process. Then through that process, just to kind of share our process on it, and this is all outlined in like our bylaws and how we do it, because we're all about transparency. But it's outlined that once we get that, then they have an interview. We call it an interview. It's really a discussion about why do they want to be on the council? Why would this mean something to them? What do they think they can bring to the group? Talk a little bit about their life and their family and get to know them a tiny bit. And then once we've identified that they really are there from a family perspective and they're interested in all of that, then they basically get in. So we haven't had to be super selective since we started the expansion, because we still have, well, we have 38 members and we have 55 spots. So we still have some openings. So we haven't been extremely selective. I anticipate probably this time next year, we probably will have to be a little more selective. And are they filling a gap in the population in the community that we're trying to reach? But we are going to be doing some real intentional outreach on to try to get some more diverse voices. And then also some of those that are actively being served by some of our programs, because that would be something that is also, admittedly, the hardest thing about recruiting is making sure you have a representative population across all the populations and programming and situations and communities that you serve. And that's something that we're going to be doing a lot of intentional recruitment in the next half of our year.
Heather.
The work groups, oh, sorry, I didn't answer the second half of that, sorry. The work groups, it's self-selection. So we ask them, where do they feel like they can be of the greatest value? We do make recommendations. So sometimes they'll say, well, I really think this because of my experience here. And then as we talk to them and we talk about what's kind of their driving passion and their driving force for getting on the council, we'll point out things like, hey, in our Title V state action plan, this is actually where this work lives. And they're like, oh, well, that's where I want to be. So almost always, I think families have gotten their first choice, unless well, I don't think we've had anybody we've put somewhere else. We've offered them an alternative and they've said, yeah, I like that. We have quite a few that are like, I really don't care. I'll help wherever you need help. And then the only group we have right now that is full is our special healthcare needs group. So right now, if we have new special healthcare needs families come on that want the special healthcare needs group, we will have to ask them. They can still join, they'll just have to join another group so that we don't let one group get so large that the other groups don't have anybody. But like Cassandra said earlier, we have special healthcare needs families across every single group. And actually, I think almost one of every co-chair is a special healthcare needs family, if I'm remembering right.
Thanks, Heather. We are just about 1 minute away from our stop time, and I'm going to honor that because I really want to respect your transition times before the next workshop. So we have just a minute for one last question, or circling back to Heather's question, if anyone has a hot idea of how to reimburse families, I'm sure she would love to hear it.
Heather, I'm sure you've thought about this, but the thing we were doing in Alaska was we actually increased the amount that we gave to the F2F, and they then handled the stipends for families, which their process was just so much simpler than ours. And because we already had a contract with them, that part was also not hard. So that's what, back when I was in Alaska, that's what we were doing.
Yep, thank you.
All right, everyone, I have 20 till, so I'm gonna go ahead and thank you all for attending. Thank you so much, Heather and Cassandra, for this great Q&A discussion time. And I hope that we will see each of you again at some point throughout the conference. Take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.